Even Jennifer Walters needs to know, when are the X-Men going to show up in the MCU? Live action X-Men, because of course X-Men 97, a continuation of the now classic Fox animated series, is set to hit Disney Plus in 2023. Well, it seems Kevin Feige won't be debuting his X-Men until he gives the Fox X-Men a proper send-off with Secret Wars. And remember, when it comes to Feige's X-Men, technically, Fox's X-Men are his X-Men, as he kicked off his career with that franchise. It's his very first credit, and he's credited, in fact, on the first 3 X-Men movies, even The Last Stand, which did very well at the box office. Hugh Jackman has been going around telling a wonderful story about meeting Feige when he first auditioned to play Wolverine, and how Feige directed him towards the right comics to prepare for the role. And sure enough, Jackman's Wolverine will be the first member of Fox's X-Men to appear in the MCU. Well, second, if you count the brief Patrick Stewart cameo in Multiverse of Madness. But Hugh Jackman's Wolverine will be showing up in the time-traveling Deadpool 3, and the TVA thought Loki was trouble. But then in Secret Wars, which for reals this time, will be the MCU's No Way Home, it seems Feige is planning for that to be the last hurrah for Fox's X-Men, before introducing his own X-Men after Secret Wars wraps, and I guess Fox's X-Men go back off to their little pocket dimension. And then not only will there be X-Men movies, but a number of mutant-centric projects on the big and small screen. Say goodbye to the multiverse saga, and say hello to the mutant saga. So today, let's talk about the most important X-Men to say goodbye to from Fox, and then the most important ones to introduce first in the MCU. And of course, as always, I'd love to hear your own thoughts down below. Now, since this is Kevin Feige's party, it's likely his loyalty is to the original Fox X-Men, which he started. Well, you know, he was certainly very valuable to that producing team because of his expertise as a Marvel comic book fan, which has gone on to define him as a producer. So it's real. Fox's original X-Men are really Kevin Feige's. He has a lot of ownership there. So I think he's going to gravitate towards that group rather than Matthew Vaughn's version, even though some of you are partial to that group. I mean, that would explain why I heard rumors that Michael Fassbender was at one point, at least, being considered for Dr. Doom, and why Feige thought it was okay to Ralph Boner us. Perhaps he wasn't trolling us, but sending us a message as to who he feels the real X-Men are. So that means Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, Patrick Stewart's Professor X, Ian McKellen's Magneto, Halle Berry's Storm, Famke Janssen's Jean Grey, and then, of course, James Marsden's Cyclops and Anna Paquin's Rogue. And I gotta tell you, it would be awesome for Marsden and Paquin to finally get their due. They're a little bit like in the Andrew Garfield camp. They're great actors who just never got the chance to portray their characters in all their comic book glory. Paquin came close, but then they cut her scenes. She looked great though. She looked fantastic. And of course, in a class, well, I don't know if all by herself, but certainly up there with Wolverine, is Rebecca Romijn's Mystique. I know that Jennifer Lawrence is famous for the role for not liking it, not wanting to do it, quite frankly. So let's get Rebecca Romijn back in here. She's still got it. She could easily play this character again. And back in the day, don't forget, Mystique was the first comic book movie sex pot before Harley Quinn. Very similar, actually, to the likability of the characters. In terms of, the mainstream really, waking up and paying attention to them. All right, so over in the MCU, so that's the Fox X-Men. So expect to see that group in Secret Wars. It would be a very No Way Home-esque moment for them to come through a portal and for us to be like, oh my God, will they be wearing black leather? Of course they will. It'll be hilarious. All right, so anyway, I mean, he can't do a comics accurate version of the Fox X-Men and then debut his own version. His version will have to be comics accurate, and I think it really has to feel like the Fox movies for it to work in terms of the nostalgia kick, which has done so well for so many movies recently. What do you think? This is messy. It's messy, especially with the X-Men 97 series in there as well, but we'll discuss. All right, so over in the MCU, so far we've got Kamala Khan, who's now a mutant, which I still have very mixed feelings about. Love Kamala Khan. Don't feel she should be a mutant. And then, of course, Namor, who is still the first mutant. Sabra, also a mutant in the comics, is set to debut as an Israeli operative in Captain America New World Order. Although, will she still be a mutant here, or will they reimagine her as a super soldier? That makes a little bit more sense to me, but, with the MCU storytelling, but we'll see. I envision a future where every country has their own super soldier, which is quite fascinating, actually, when you think of the proliferation of weapons in real life. All right, now will there just be an explosion of mutants, right? Or have they been amongst us all along, either simply hiding in the shadows or hidden by Professor Xavier's telepathy? I choose that option. That would be amazing if Professor X, was like, oh, there's a lot of us, and then they just appeared, because he said he finally let you see them. That would be amazing. All right, I'm a big X-Men fan. Batman or X-Men are where it's at for me. All right, so anyway, like it or not, a new Wolverine will likely be in the first group just because he's so iconic and a long-time Avenger. Of course, Feige could continue on his current path and introduce his own X-23 instead, who is the current Wolverine in the comics. And I have to say, a very good one. There was a recent cliffhanger with her, which was amazing. I can't wait to pick up the next issue. But I have to say, I think you got to establish Wolverine first to best sell X-23 to audiences, as Hugh Jackman did so well with Logan. Now, on that note, maybe Daphne Keane will be running around Deadpool 3, as I hear the Logan movie will, let's just say, be a very big part of that third film. And Keane has already become a part of the Disney family, as she's just joined the new upcoming Star Wars series, The Acolyte. She's getting pretty big. She's almost, like the current X-23 in the comics. I think X-Men fans, though, are looking to the MCU to get certain X-Men right, who Fox messed up so badly, right? So there's Cyclops. We got to get a good Cyclops. Storm. I'd like to see a darker skinned actress because of the colorism so often associated with this role, unfortunately. Rogue and Nightcrawler. I would add Nightcrawler to this list. These are very popular, powerful mutants who never got to show that off thanks to the limited budgets and VFX capabilities of movies made 20 or so years ago. And since Mystique is so popular both in the comics and in the mainstream, expect Kevin Feige to introduce his own version as well in her classic white and skull outfit. There was actually a fantastic Wolverine and Mystique comic book story a couple of years ago, which would be a great maybe Disney Plus series or something like that, or a Wolverine movie. Very good stuff. As for new mutants that could help Feige make his X-Men team his own, I don't think Ms. Marvel should be on the X-Men. That's just going to weird me out. But I guess let's see. But anyway, I think she's going to be a young Avenger. But anyway, expect Feige to pull from two groups for new X-Men. First, the animated series, which again he clearly loves, as he's used the music twice now as a music cue for mutants, and of course is continuing it with that Disney Plus animated series. Gambit was a very big part of that show, but never really materialized in live action. And, Channing Tatum never got his chance. There's also Beast. Kelsey Grammer was fan casting, but yet is kind of another example of both how sometimes fan casting doesn't work out. And then also how, visual effects just weren't at the right place at that time to do the character justice. And then fan favorite Jubilee. Everybody loves Jubilee. There's also Kitty Pryde, who of course was played by Elliot Page early on in his career. I could see Kitty Pryde too. Kitty Pryde is a classic X-Men character, one of the original big ones. Now, any mutant character that's in the X-Men 97 upcoming animated series is a possible candidate for live-action MCU to create synergy. Oh, do you like this character on the animated series? Well, here they are in the MCU. So you're talking X-Force, Hellfire Club, and live-action Sentinels done right. I'm excited, although how they're going to explain why they're only hunting mutants and not other superpowered individuals makes no sense to me. But we'll see what they come up with. Again, the X-Men and the Avengers have never really gelled as in the same universe, even though they technically are supposed to be. They had one crossover event, which I got to tell you, wasn't that good. All right, then speaking of Jubilee, the other group, you guessed it, is fan favorite team Generation X. Also from the 90s. Jubilee was on, and everything in the 90s is hot right now. So, you see Disney recreating VHS cases from the 90s. So Generation X is right in that ballpark. Jubilee was a big part of this team, as well as Powerhouse Monet and Penance. I'm not going to give anything away in case you haven't read that comic. You should, it's amazing. And this was the team that started Emma Frost, aka the White Queen of the Hellfire Club, on her path to becoming an anti-hero. And eventually, that was a fantastic love triangle with Scott Summers and Jean Grey. I mean, you thought the Wolverine stuff was good. This was also one of the best things ever done. Very adult, though. Very adult. Thanks, Grant Morrison. The other, and I mean that in a positive way, I loved it. The other member I'd give good odds to jumping into live action is actually Synch, who can copy the power of any mutants in close proximity to him. And you might be wondering, what's that going to do? How is that a good member? Well, I got to tell you, I never thought so until he's been used in the current X-Men comics as one of the team members, and they're using him incredibly well. Not only are they using his powers very well, but he has an excellent dramatic romantic subplot with X-23, which I'm very personally invested in. They're like the new Rogue Gambit. Very good stuff. Rumor is that Kevin Feige wants a more diverse team of X-Men to cast a wider net of appeal with today's global audiences. Makes sense to me. So we could either race bend some characters. There's that rumor that Giancarlo Esposito is being considered as the new Professor X. Spot on casting, in my opinion. As a huge X-Men fan, I think that's a great choice. We've already had Patrick Stewart and James McAvoy, who also did excellent work. But then, of course, Kevin Feige could elevate existing characters of color, like Jubilee, Monet, and Synch, or Bishop, Forge, and Sunspot, who you can all see on the upcoming X-Men 97 show. That's a crazy version of Sunspot, but I like it. That's very interesting. New Mutants didn't do anything with that character. And then, of course, Omar Sy was Bishop, briefly, and he's very popular not only globally, but with the Netflix show that he's had recently. Although I think his English language delivery still needs some work. But maybe Bishop's French? I mean, they could figure it out. I mean, what do you think? Do you think considering how popular Omar Sy is, it would be a mistake to recast that role? But Bishop's pretty iconic. Bishop is pretty iconic. And I like Omar Sy, but he was never quite Bishop from the comics, to be honest with you. But anyway, be patient, X-Men fans. The MCU Mutant Saga is coming after Secret Wars, with a proper goodbye to the Fox X-Men. So, which Fox X-Men would you like to see in Secret Wars, and who do you think should be in the first wave of Feige's own MCU X-Men? Share those thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.